Good morning, meteorologist Cheetah Craft. Here is a full check of the tropics. So Hurricane Fiona is a Category 4 hurricane. You can see that well-defined eyes. It's continuing to spin in the Atlantic. It's moving north of Turks and Caicos now. So the outermost bands of Hurricane Fiona still going to take at least probably up until about midday today to completely move away from Puerto Rico, from Turks and Caicos. And those are the two biggest areas that really caused catastrophic damage across Puerto Rico, but even Turks and Caicos, it moved through a little bit faster, but as it moves away, they will get some relief. They will get some breaks there. Right now, maximum sustained winds at 130 miles per hour. And again, it is moving in a northerly direction around 8 miles per hour. But gosh, that well-defined eye on that satellite image, it shows clearly Cat 4 Hurricane Fiona. So as I put Fiona in the latest forecast track from the National Hurricane Center, notice how even through tomorrow, it's expected to remain a Category 4. It is going to brush really closely towards Bermuda by Friday. And then as it does, it may weaken down to a Cat 3. But as it stays majority of the time in the open waters of the Atlantic, water temperatures are warm enough. Wind shear stays really low to support continued development as a Category 4. So it does stay east of the East Coast, but we still may see some wave heights a little bit higher all along the eastern seaboard. So as far as Hurricane Fiona, we're not expecting any direct impacts along the U.S. However, we may get some wave action because of that. The reason why it's going to stay east of the East Coast, we have a cold front brushing across the area, and that's what's helping to steer Hurricane Fiona to the east, and a big area of high pressure also off to the east. So basically, this big ridge has taken control of it because of the clockwise flow around high pressure. It's really helped steer Fiona to the east. Again, they've also got a cold front brushing across the eastern seaboard, and that's also helping to deflect Fiona. What's happening all across portions of the southern states, high pressure is in control, and that's what's causing above average and even record-breaking heat for millions and millions of people. Eventually, by the end of the weekend and into early next week, this ridge is going to back off west, and that's going to allow a cold front to sweep through even southeast Texas, which is then potentially going to impact what is Invest 98L, which could become Hermine. So all across the Atlantic basin right now, we have become extremely active, even compared to two days ago. I mean, a lot of activity just in the past 48 hours has really started to populate here. So Hurricane Fiona, we just talked about. Tropical Storm Gaston did develop yesterday. It's expected to remain in the open waters of the Atlantic. And now we have 3 additional waves behind that. So Invest 98L, we will be monitoring closely. The next one has a 30% chance of developing over the next 5 days. What is just off the coast of Africa, because it is in the open waters of the Atlantic now, has a 50% chance of developing, and that could potentially even take on the name Ian. Now, I'm going to focus in right now on this Invest 98L. All models unanimous that it is expected to move in a westerly direction towards the Caribbean by Friday. And then from there, we need to see what land interaction it's going to have. If you haven't seen the list for our 2022 Atlantic Basin Tropical System names, take a look what we've already had. So again, Fiona is what we're tracking. It's now at a Cat 4. Gaston to develop yesterday, and Hermine will be the next name on the list, with Ian, Julia, Carl, and so on. So we will see, but we could easily have Hermine and Ian by the end of the week in the Atlantic as well. So very, very busy from really quiet conditions that we've had. Let me show you what we're expecting with Invest 98L at this point. So I'm going to take this forecast, both models. So we're taking the GFS and the European model. We're overlaying those. So in the red is the Euro, in the yellow is the GFS through Sunday. So today's Wednesday. Putting this into the latest track, again, both models saying we're heading towards the Caribbean by Friday, Saturday. From there, it does look like development is expected. Now, just how intense that is still kind of to be determined, especially some land interaction or a little bit of wind shear could have a lot to play with this as well. But either way, both models suggesting Invest 98L or Tropical Depression or Tropical Storm Hermine would move in that westerly direction from there. If it does have any interaction with any islands or potentially Cuba as it moves towards the eastern portion of the Gulf of Mexico, that is still to be determined. Again, we have plenty of time to watch this. This is getting into Wednesday next week, so we're talking about the 28th of this month. Both models are hinting to the eastern portion of the Gulf, but then this is where at the beginning of next week, we're expecting a cold front to sweep through southeast Texas, which will help to steer and act like a steering mechanism for any moisture that we do see in the eastern Gulf. We have a second front on the way, another boundary expected towards the end of next week around Friday. So a series of cold fronts will continue to act like steering mechanisms with these. So both models are still suggesting the eastern portion of the Gulf, but we're going to have to watch this very closely through the upcoming weekend on timing. I think all the timing and as far as how intense this develops will also play into account. All models still suggesting we're watching through for some Caribbean action, potentially a tropical depression as it moves towards the Caribbean, and then from there, how far either east or north, that is still going to be determined right through the upcoming weekend. Bottom line, I can tell you, we're going to continue to monitor this closely. We need a break with this humidity, and the cold fronts we're expecting across southeast Texas will have a big role on the impacts or what could potentially happen for Invest 98L or what potentially could become Hermine. One last look again at what's going on across the Atlantic Basin. It's Wednesday morning, so two areas. Category 4 major Hurricane Fiona that ripped through Puerto Rico and Turks and Caicos, now moving to the north, expected to stay east of the East Coast. Tropical Storm Gaston remains in the open waters. And then next on the list would be Invest 98L, has a 90% chance that it could become Hermine. It does look like we'll have a tropical depression on our hands by Friday, so 2 days from now, that is expected. And then as we work a little bit closer, just to the coast of Africa, that even could become Ian. So a lot to monitor. We will keep you posted right here, or you can always visit khou.com.